So in the last video, I covered how to get your thread out of the skein. This time we're going to cover what to do with it, because I know you're all anxious to get started stitching frustration-free. So about 18 inches is the ideal length, in my opinion, to stitch with. So when I pull thread from my skein, I count 1, 2, 3 as I'm pulling bumps of thread. And when I say bump, I mean a full length from top to bottom, because you'll feel it as you pull through the label. You'll go bump, 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 and you can count 1, 2, 3. And that'll give you a good length of thread to stitch with. Or you can go like you're getting ready to shoot a bow from your opposite shoulder to your main hand. Or if you go the other way, you can go from your right shoulder all the way out to your left hand. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my embroidery scissors. And you don't have to have fancy embroidery scissors to embroider. If you have a pair of scissors that cut thread, just get your scissors that cut thread. These are just fun little accessories that you add on through your stitching journey. You don't need to have a ton of expensive fancy equipment to get started. It's about 1 inch outside of where you pulled the thread from. You are going to snip it, just like that. Now, so you remember which end to pull from, which will be the end that you started with, not the end that you just cut off the skein. You're going to take it in your fingers, in between your thumb and your forefinger, and just kind of flour it so the thread flours out. And you're thinking, Melissa, we're going to stitch with 2 threads, right? Because everything says 2 over 2. We are. And I'm getting there, so be patient. Bear with me, just do as I say. You're going to take 1 single thread, and you're going to hold it very loosely in between your index finger and your thumb, and you're going to pull straight up. Now, I know a lot of you have pulled sideways, and that's created nothing but a big tangle to try and get 2 threads out of 6. Trust me, this method is much easier. So take that single thread and just pull straight up. Go up, 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 up. And look at that. It came completely loose in one motion. Now, so you remember which end is the end that was not close to the skein. You're going to just do a quick little slip knot. And you do a quick little slip knot by wrapping it around your fingers and pulling through. Just like that. Now the reason I do that is because I want to remember which way the nap on my thread goes. Now what is nap on a thread? No, we're not taking a nap on our thread. What nap is during the manufacturing process, the fibers are spun in a particular direction, and that leaves little wispies on the edge of your thread. So pretend this finger is the thread, and the wispies you want to go in this direction, like an arrow pointing up. So when you pull your needle through your fabric, it's going to go up through the fabric. If you have your thread going in the wrong direction, your little wispies go like this. So when you're pulling up against your fabric, your little wispies are going like that. They're banging up against the top of your fabric, and all you're going to get is knots, and you're going to get frustration, and we don't want that. So now that I have my thread pulled, I'm going to double it over so that I have my 2 tails lined up together, just like that. And I have a loop on the other end. So you have tails and you have a loop. Now you're going to drop your tails. And I'll show you why. We're going to do a loop start. So you're going to take your thread and you're going to pull it down in between your fingers so that you can just barely see a little bit of it. And if I had a needle, that would be helpful. So let me just reach back here to my needle book. And this is one of the motifs from the sampler behind me, which is from 1902. I will be releasing it as a design along with a little etui based on the designs to go with it. Okay, so now that we have our needle, and this is a number 26, which is standard in most cross stitch kits. So you're going to take it with your thread pinched between your fingers and just rock it over the thread and pull it up through so that you have about 2 inches of tail off your needle. And that is how to thread with the loop. So before I get into starting the thread on the fabric, I'm going to put it down here for a second. And I want to talk about what to do with the rest of your skein, because if you have cats or children or are just prone to losing things in your couch, which I do it all the time. I sit on my threads, I drop my threads, I look around and I'm completely mystified, and then I stand up and, oh look, there's my thread. Floss away. There's your DMC bobbins. You can take and wind it around it. But I have what are called thread tucks, and I really like these. They're thread TUX, and they have a little tuxedo on the front of them. And what I really like about it is that it's got a hole coming out the top, so you can keep your skein in the envelope, but you can take that extra inch that you cut and you can thread it up through the hole, and then you can close the envelope and make sure you grab a Sharpie and write down your color. So this way, as I'm stitching, my thread is protected from cat fur. And if I need to pull an additional length of thread, it's also protected from cats trying to eat my skeins. I can pull an additional length of thread without having to get my entire skein out and have it get fuzzy or get taken away and played with or get lost. And I can put it on my jailer's ring and have all of my threads together for a particular project. So I'm not sponsored by Thread Tucks, but it's a product that I've really grown to love. And I'm back with a little bit of Aida. I'm just going to use black so that this shows up. So what I'm going to do to get my thread started is pull it through my fabric. This is the back of the fabric. This is the front. I want to make sure I'm pulling up my loop, and I'm leaving just about an inch of loop on the back of my fabric. Now, a word on stitching direction. Some people do the left leg first. Some people do the right leg first. I like to do the left leg first. If you want to start an argument in a stitchers group, say one way is more superior than the other. It's really not. It's just like putting pants on. You put the left leg of your pants on first, or if you put the right leg of your pants on first, you still end up with your pants on in the end. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and do this so that you can see, is form my stitch. And I'm going to railroad this one. And railroading means I'm going to bring my needle through my threads and then push it down into my fabric. Now, railroading, what it does is it allows your fibers to lay exactly parallel and cover more of your fabric more evenly. When you're stitching on a dark color like this, it's kind of important because then you get more thread covering the canvas versus little bits of fabric showing through, and you get those weird little gappy places. Now back to the back. We're going to pass our needle through the loop, just like this. And we're going to pull it down towards the loop. You want it to lay flat. You don't want to have your loop going all wiggly wobbly. And that is how to do a loop start on your fabric.